Hey, what's up? Hello, everybody. Welcome back to In the Room, a wrestling podcast from the Des Moines Register. I'm Cody Goodwin, the Register's wrestling writer, and I am glad you are here. Happy Friday, you guys. Got an interview-heavy show here for you all today, all of which center on Iowa City High's superstar athlete, Ben Keeter. Wrote a story on Ben earlier this week, and if I'm being completely honest, I've been meaning to write about Ben for a while. He is a marvel of an athlete, an incredible wrestler, obviously, but also a standout football player, a tremendous center fielder, and he's pretty quick on the track, too. He is the rare four-sport athlete at one of Iowa's large class schools. The impressive part about Ben isn't that he willingly chooses this ridiculously busy and athletic lifestyle. The impressive part is that he is insanely good at virtually everything. A lot of us have known this for a while. He is a two-time state wrestling champ for City High, 35-0 career record, which includes 20 pins, but he's also Junior Folk Style National Champ, Junior Freestyle National Runner-Up, top 10 overall recruit in the junior class, and currently ranked number 6 nationally at 220 pounds. On the gridiron last season, he was just a sophomore. He led City with 41.5 total tackles, including 31 solo stops. Just last week in the Little Hawks' 41-0 Week 1 victory over Iowa City Liberty, he hauled in 3 catches, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns, also recorded 7 tackles, a sack, and 2 more tackles for a loss. He also ran the second leg on City High's distance medley relay team that took second at the Drake Relays. And then over the summer, he hit 3-3-3 with 26 runs batted in while playing amazing defensively in the outfield for the Little Hawk baseball team. That was over the summer. There were times throughout the year where he juggled all of his obligations and still found ways to succeed. In the spring, he ran at Drake and then drove 5 hours the next day to Wisconsin for the Cadet World Team Trials, where he took third. In the summer, he helped City win a doubleheader over, I believe, Linmar. Then he drove 8 hours to Tulsa, where he went 5-0 and helped Team Iowa win the Junior Freestyle National Duels. Then, later in the summer, he went to Fargo for the Junior National Championships. He went 5-1, took second place, then was back in Iowa the next day for City's sub-state final against Ottumwa. The Bulldogs ultimately won that one 2-1. He will do it again later this fall, as City High's last regular season football game is set for Thursday, October 21st. He will then travel to Greensboro, North Carolina for the Super 32 Challenge, arguably the toughest preseason high school wrestling tournament in the country, which is set for October 23rd through 24th. Pretty impressive, right? Here's where things get interesting. Ben's incredible wrestling talents have obviously led to plenty of recruiting interest, especially over the last 6 months or so. Told me he's heard from Iowa, Northern Colorado, Oklahoma State, Princeton, North Carolina, and Stanford. There's probably a bunch of others there who have, given him a call or sent him a letter or tried to reach out in some capacity. A guy of that size who projects at either 197 or heavyweight, who can move and wrestle the way he does, is a sure lock to basically go wherever he wants to if he decides to wrestle in college. At the same time, his budding football prospects are also drawing interest. He received an offer from Minnesota this week, the first of what will likely be many this fall, guys. He's heard from Iowa, Iowa State, and Missouri. There are other Big Ten and SEC schools that are sniffing around. He likely projects as a tight end at the next level, but his skills at linebacker and just honestly his versatility overall to basically play anywhere on the field have allowed for these options to surface. That's what kind of led to the story that I wrote this week. It basically centers on this idea. Does Ben play football in college, or does he wrestle? Does he pursue his loftiest wrestling goals, right? NCAA championships, world and Olympic gold medals, or does he chase his football dreams? As a projected tight end at the next level, he could perhaps make a run at the NFL, right? It's a question only Ben himself can answer, but he is not in a rush to do so right now. When I asked him if he had even thought about it, he shook his head no before I even finished the question. This spurred 2 thoughts in my head. First, good for him, right? He's only a junior. He's got plenty of time to figure out what he wants to do and the larger goals he ultimately wants to pursue. He has time to figure out if it's football or wrestling, potentially both, right? I mean, in the story, I mentioned Josh Hokett, All-American wrestler and productive fullback for Fresno State. He is now playing for the San Francisco 49ers. I didn't mention guys like Adam Kuhn, who was an All-American at Michigan, a world silver medalist in Greco-Roman, and then he was actually invited to preseason camp with the Tennessee Titans. He was ultimately waived, but the opportunity was made possible because of his stellar wrestling abilities. There are tons of other examples like that, like a Stephen Neal who went, world champion wrestler turned all-pro lineman for the Patriots. There are plenty of, wrestlers who go play football and football players who go wrestle and this, that, and the next, just all littered all over. I mean, most of the guys that tried to do both in college, probably more in the 70s, 80s, and maybe early 90s. Very, very rare to see it nowadays, or at least very rare to see guys who are as successful as, say, a Josh Hokett nowadays, right? But the second thought was that it was kind of cool that even at such a high level that Ben really hadn't thought much about what his future might hold. And I thought that kind of spoke a lot to his mindset and how he's wired, right? He approaches things day by day and really more specifically task by task. For all his amazing athletic gifts, and there are many, strength, speed, spatial awareness, power, physicality, flexibility, perhaps his greatest ability is to compartmentalize and approach each thing individually. That kind of mindset and approach has his own coaches marveling over his elite skills. It has college coaches salivating over his potential in both sports and is largely the reason he's in this position in the first place. It's going to be super fascinating to see how this all unfolds for Ben. He's at the center of a lot of overlapping worlds, and as he continues to grow on the gridiron and on the mat, the decision is only going to get harder. That's my intro. The rest of this show is going to be a bunch of interviews. First with Ben Keeter himself, next with Iowa City High wrestling coach Corey Connell, and then finally with Iowa City High football coach Mitchell Moore. We all talk, about Ben, this particular situation, what makes it really interesting, and ultimately what they think might actually go into the decision. So they were great conversations all out in Iowa City. I hope you guys first read the story, which can be found in the show notes, and two, enjoy these conversations as well. Because conversations like this, it's always really cool when you see, a kid like Ben Keeter who just all around great kid, comes from a great family, just really surrounded by a really great situation, just has a lot of options to pursue a lot of really, really cool things, whatever he ultimately chooses to do. So super fascinating story, super fascinating situation that we're going to be following over the next couple of years. We're going to probably hit or highlight a lot more on football here over the next few months, just while they're in season. And then when we circle back to wrestling, obviously that's going to be at the forefront as well. We'll cue up that intro music. We will get to the interviews now. Ben was great as always, and his coaches were fantastic as well. I will catch you guys on the other side. Ben Keeter from Iowa City High. We're standing in the brand new Iowa City High wrestling room. I know we're going to talk football, but what's it like standing in here, man? I know we still got a couple of mats still that we got to put down, but this is pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it's sweet. I'm excited for this season. It's going to be good.
Absolutely. Before that, though, football, big opener last Friday for you, for the team, for the community. Just kind of walk me through what was that like for you guys to get that win in that fashion, the way you played individually?
No, it was awesome. I mean, we've been putting a lot of work in this summer, and so that's why we were pretty passionate about the win. To say, I mean, obviously after the game, we were out on the field taking pictures and stuff, but I mean, yeah, it was great. It just felt like the whole community was behind us, and it was good. Everybody was excited, and that was last week though. So obviously we're getting ready for Jefferson this week, so it'll be good.
Yeah, you mentioned all the work that you guys have been putting into in the summer with new coach Mitchell Moore. What's it been like kind of, working with a new coach? He's young, he's exciting, he's had success everywhere he's gone, right?
Sure.
What's it been like, not just working with him over the summer, but, seeing week one, I mean, all that hard work was paying off, right?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, we've put a lot of hard work in this summer, and I mean, we worked hard last summer too, but I feel like heading into the season last year, we had a lot of false confidence, I guess you could say. And this year, we're all extremely confident, and we can back that up with all the hard work we did to put in this summer. So,
yeah. What's been the biggest difference just working with Coach Moore?
Probably just the energy he brings to practice. I mean, every day's fun, and I mean, he can tell when we're dragging some days. So obviously, he's going to get all the coaches, and I mean, pretty much the whole coaching staff is pretty young. So I mean, it's pretty easy to get hyped up in a practice, and just the energy he brings. It's fun. Every day's a blast.
Absolutely. You're a two-way player, linebacker and tight end. Defensively speaking, I know one of the things that really makes Coach Moore's defense fun is that there's some variation of blitz on every single play.
Yeah.
What is kind of the most challenging, the most fun, what's the best part about playing defense in a system like that?
I mean, the most fun to me is probably the preparation leading up to the game. Like, I mean, the whole week we're just going over all the blitzes, obviously, and then just keep going over and over. Just like when it comes to game time, we're ready, and it's just natural. And I mean, a lot of people are just, I mean, you could say, oh, they're just blitzing, it's not football, but like, I mean, we're reading our keys still, and like, it's fun, it's a blast.
Yeah, being a linebacker, middle of the defense, captain of the defense, right? Where have your duties changed in this style of defense compared to maybe years past?
I guess being a bigger vocal leader, I guess. I mean, I really got to let the defense know like what the play is, obviously, and just, I mean, keeping guys up. And last year I was kind of just there. I mean, I was just playing. I wasn't really a leader, I guess you could say, but this year I really think that I've taken that leadership role and getting everybody ready, prepared for Friday nights and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's a lot of fun when you're able to fly around, sacks, tackles for loss, make plays like that.
Yeah, it's so easy to keep the energy the whole game when you say it's fourth quarter and you get a big hit. Like, that's awesome. I mean, the entire game is just fun.
100%. Offensively, tight end, you touched the ball, 3 times, scored 2 touchdowns?
Yeah, 3.
What has it been like just playing in that role in this type of offense? I know he likes to play a lot of different things on offense.
I mean, I'm all over the field. I'm not just like in one certain position, so it's fun. I mean, you can throw me outside or put me down in the middle and just block, but either way, I'm having fun blocking or catching balls, so it's good. It's a blast.
Absolutely. What is the most exciting part about an offense, the way he runs it? I know he gets a lot of different guys involved, a lot of different guys touch the ball. It just seems like, what kind of problems do you guys feel like you present for opposing defenses?
I mean, just like all the athletes we've had. I mean, we've always had the athletes. I said that earlier, a couple weeks ago. I mean, but we've always had the athletes, and his style of coaching, I guess, is just getting it to our athletes, and that's what we do. We get it to our athletes and let them make plays. So it's good. It's fun.
Absolutely. You, like you said, 3 touches, 2 touchdowns. What's that feeling like on Friday night when you get into the end zone like that?
It's awesome. I mean, there's nothing like it. It's cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. You obviously got a big offer, right, from Minnesota. You called it a dream come true. Probably the first of many that's coming. Who all have you kind of been hearing from, talking to when it comes to the football side of things?
So Minnesota was the first one, but I got them going to Iowa State game this weekend, actually. They want me to come watch a game, and then I'm going to go to an Iowa game later in the year, and that's about it with football. So it was cool. It was pretty sweet. I was actually napping, and Coach Moore was like, "Hey, Minnesota is going to offer you." And I was like, that's crazy. So cool.
That's really, really cool, man. Are you kind of like aware of, junior year is obviously a huge year when it comes to, wanting to pursue, opportunities at the next level when it comes to athletics. But, football for you specifically, are you kind of aware of how big this year could be for you? I mean, yeah,
I'm pretty aware. It's always in the back of my head, but I'm not focused on getting scholarships or whatever, going to colleges. I mean, I'm focusing on every week who we play. So right now it's Jefferson. I'm focused on getting better for that, and I guess all that other stuff will come along if I'm prepared for my games. So, yeah.
Absolutely. We are standing in the wrestling room. I did want to ask you a little bit about your summer, right? I mean, it was a big summer. Sure. Went to the Cadet World Team Trials, went to junior duels, double state champ, national freestyle finals. How would you assess kind of your summer when it comes to wrestling side of things?
I mean, it was a great summer. I had a blast. I mean, I wasn't wrestling every day because of baseball, but I got about 2 or 3 good workouts every week, and then other than that, it was just baseball. But I mean, it was a blast, especially those tournaments, especially junior duels. That's probably my favorite. Just being around the team and hanging out with everybody, that was a blast, and just beating the crap out of teams. It was fun. It's really fun showing the rest of the country what Iowa can do and what we should do.
Absolutely. You specifically, what'd you kind of learn about yourself this summer through all these high-level competitions, all the success that you guys found along the way?
The biggest thing with me is I just need to perform. I know what I need to do, and I have great coaches. Obviously, Coach Connor right here just hanging out, but I know what I need to do, and it's just whether I do that or not. And so I gotta have a game plan and execute it.
Absolutely. You're going to be one of those rare athletes in the state of Iowa that's going to have a lot of different options. I mean, specifically football, specifically wrestling. I mean, you talked about how baseball, City High's been really good at that the last few years.
For sure.
Have you thought about your future and what, the opportunities that are going to be there for you, or how do you approach something like that?
Not really. I mean, I'm just taking it day by day. I mean, I love wrestling. I love football, so it's tough. I don't think I'll play baseball in college or track, but I mean, it's still definitely between football and wrestling right now, so just kind of taking it day by day.
Yeah, I know you maybe haven't thought much about it, but how tough is that decision going to be?
It's going to be tough. I played football my whole life. I wrestled my whole life, and so it's going to be tough. But I'm around the right people, so it'll be good.
Yeah. You ever explored the idea of doing both?
Yeah, I have a little bit, but most of the colleges I've talked to, they said to me it's hard to do it at a high level, and I agree with them. I mean, it's hard to do it at a high level in college just because everybody's, it's elite, it's college, right?
Yeah, definitely. Have you followed the guy, like a Josh Hokett, for example? And I know
yeah, a little bit, but it's nothing crazy. Yeah.
I gotcha. When it comes to the wrestling side of things, what kind of schools have reached out already? I know that they're... So Iowa has reached out, obviously. I think I'm taking a game day visit to the Penn State game, so that'll be pretty cool. And then Oklahoma State has reached out, Northern Colorado. I like them. I had a at-home visit with them 2 weeks ago. It was cool. I really like that place, so I'm going to take a visit out there for sure. And then North Carolina has reached out, and then Stanford, so it's cool. Absolutely. What kind of, when you rattle off all these schools for wrestling and all these schools for football, what kind of goes through your mind, man? That's a lot to balance sometimes.
Yeah, it's a lot, but I put a lot of hard work in. I'm doing a lot of things that your typical high schoolers are doing right now, so it feels good to, I guess, have all that hard work pay off a little bit, I guess. So that's kind of the reward I get for working so hard year round.
Absolutely. I know that football's obviously the season right now.
Yeah.
One of my last questions, when do we get to see you on the mat next?
Super 32.
Super 32?
Yep, so we play, our last game is on Thursday, I believe, because it's at Davenport, and then I fly out Friday morning and weigh in, and then the rest of Saturday and Sunday. It's cool. Coach Moore was totally cool with it. We asked him, and he was all for it. He was like, yeah, for sure, go do it.
Well, that's not unlike what you kind of did this summer, right? Flying to do some wrestling, coming back to play baseball. I mean,
Fargo.
Yeah, how? I mean, is that fun? Is that was it tiring? What was that like?
It wasn't too tiring. I mean, I was just having fun with it. I love competing and being on the spot and and we were on the spot in the playoffs. It was a great atmosphere. It was super fun, and then obviously Fargo final was another great atmosphere. And there's nothing like it. So, I mean, yeah, you're gonna be a little sore and a little tired, but it's nothing. A good warm up won't fix. You know what I mean? So
absolutely. Probably helps so you don't have to cut as much weight.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah,
absolutely.
I weighed 205 the last day, so at Fargo, so 220. So
there you go. I think my last question for you, though, obviously it's still football season.
Yeah.
Big game against Jefferson coming up. Bigger games coming down the schedule, right?
Sure.
What is kind of the focus on this week? What are you guys specifically working on to get ready for Jefferson?
Our biggest thing right now is just keep getting better. I mean, obviously look at Jefferson. They got beat 79-0 or something like that last week. So I mean, we just got to keep focusing on us. That's a big emphasis this week, is focus on us and not really worrying about the other teams, and just kind of getting better, because everybody knows what we have to do. It's just we got to go out and do it, and come Friday nights we just got to perform and have fun with it.
Friday is going to be the first of how many superstar performances on the football field. We already know about his wrestling ability. As a coach, what's it like having an athlete like that?
You like, and no matter what it is in life, you like having a kid with options.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't like to see a kid that comes out and it's like, wow, this is his only option, their only chance. He's got the world by world by his finger. He's just got to figure out what he wants to do and just keep doing what he's doing, which is working hard and being a great person and everything else. So.
Yeah. What? Open-ended question, broad question. What makes him so special?
He's very talented. But a lot of people that are that talented don't work that hard.
Yeah.
And I mean, he goes, you heard him, even in this last week in an interview, the thing that you're like, what do you like the most? The process. And he loves the process. He loves the work. He loves the lead up to the game, the lead up to the practice, or the lead up to the meets, the lead up to the tournament. He puts so much into that when that stuff happens, it's easy, because everything else is done is way harder than when he's gotten into the game or the match or whatever. So he puts so much on the process that when it comes to the actual events this season.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of things that are unique about him. What do you feel like is maybe the most unique?
He's such an athlete. I mean, just to be able to switch gears from baseball to wrestling to football, but everything he does, he can. I mean, Jesus Christ, he's 220 pounds and he made 3 events in the Drake relays, and I mean, like, that's not even fair. Like, I his talent level compared to mine, Jesus Christ, I mean, I had to work my freaking ass off and just to even get anywhere close to wrestling at Iowa and doing stuff I did. But he is so athletic and he can switch gears so quick, and it's fun to watch.
Yeah. How do you, I mean, when you're working with an athlete like that who's doing so many different things, you know, Drake to the cadet trials and then junior trials, and he comes back for baseball, and now he's talking about, you know, a game on Friday night and then Super 32 the next day. Like, that's one of the biggest, baddest tournaments in the country. How do you coach a guy like that? Like, how do you make sure that he's getting everything he needs to do what he wants to do, right?
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. And like, he's telling me, he's like, I want to do Super 32s, and I'm just like, okay, you got to be training. You know, we got to, you know, the biggest thing that I always stress to him is you got to plan for success. So, you know, you got to have a plan. You know, fail to plan to fail.
Yeah.
So you got to plan for success and understand that everybody involved knows the plan. So he needs to make sure that Coach Moore, the football coach, knows the plan. He needs to make sure that Coach Mitchell, the baseball coach, knows the plan. He needs to make sure if, you know, there's something I need, I know the plan. So we can all work together and make sure that we understand. He's a special kid. You know, he wants to do everything. But we all need to understand, you know, how can we make sure he is successful, not just in wrestling, not just in football, not just in baseball, not just in track, but how can we help him reach his goals in everything he does? And I think that's a special thing here at City High, how all us coaches, generally, we get along, we work together, we want to make kids be multi-sport athletes, and we want to help them succeed on the mat, on the football field, on the baseball field, and the track, you know, and in the classroom. And the kids awesome in the classroom too. He was close to a 4.0 student. So I mean, it's a total package. And like I said, we try to work together to make that happen for him.
Yeah, I assume nothing he's done has surprised you, or has it?
I would say maybe Drake. I would say I would say baseball doesn't surprise, football doesn't surprise, wrestling. You know, honestly, the thing that surprised me the most is that he was, you know, made so many events in Drake. Yeah. And as big as he is,
dude, and that was like for fun for him.
Yeah, and he's only doing it like a couple times a week. And I'm gonna practice, I'm gonna wrestle 3 days a week. I'm gonna lift these 2 days, and I'm just gonna do track on the side every year. And he's still qualifying for Drake track events. So it shows you how special he is, and just that he's. I mean, it's, you know, track coach understands that, hey, it's not like, you know, when I'm not at practice, it's not like I'm at home eating, you know, Cheetos and watching TV. It's because he's working harder than anybody else there, going to a wrestling practice. Then he's going to lift, and then he's going to, you know, hit some baseballs, and then he's going to do track as well. He has his priorities in line, and he knows what they are, and he does a good job of doing what he can to follow it.
Yeah, in talking with the other coaches, I mean, how are they impressed, surprised, not by what, I mean, this summer was crazy for him, right? And it seems like he's just like, yep, it's just part of the deal.
Yeah, knowing the kid, I would agree. And that's kind of how I see it as well. Like I said, I would say the only thing is, I mean, I know he's really good in baseball, always has been, really good in football. His size and his speed is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
His athleticism. And then in wrestling, I mean, that's, to me, I mean, I guess maybe I'm a little biased. I think that's where he's best. But
right.
I mean, to be that big, and like I took some video of him at Fargo, just doing stance in motion. And I mean, I'm like, you know, he's a 220 pounder, and he's moving like a 125 pounder, 126 pounder. Just how he moves his feet, how he sprawls, how he then shoots, how he, you know, comes to the head. I mean, just how he moves is just freakish to be that size and to be able to move like that.
Yeah, which kind of leads me into, you know, I think one of the more intriguing things about him is like, what does he do at the next level? Like, how, when you have an athlete like this, like as a coach, obviously you're the wrestling coach, but like, how do you advise an athlete who's going to have, you know, seemingly limitless options like him? I mean, he's rattling off all these schools that are coming after him for wrestling, all these schools that are coming after him for football. Like, how do you coach or advise a kid like that?
Options are good, and I mean, I just think he's got to decide, and it's going to be tough. And I mean, obviously, I think he's got good people in his corner with his family with his coaches, just to help him figure out what he wants to do. But I think he's a smart kid too, right? I think the biggest thing is he's got to decide what he wants to do in the sense of if he's got a chance to make the NFL, it's hard to say, hey, no, I'm not going to play football. So like I told him, I was like, if you've got a serious chance to play the NFL, you almost got to go that route. I mean, if it's just going to be, every college gets 90-some scholarships for football. If it's just going to be your scholarship athlete, but you're not going to be, playing that much, or if you're going to only be playing some and you're not going to go to the next level, dude, you can be one of the best wrestlers in the world. Yeah. You got to go with wrestling. Yeah. And even if it was a full ride versus a half scholarship or something, if you can be one of the best wrestlers in the world, go that route. So it's just a matter of figuring out how far he thinks he can go with football or with wrestling, and see what he wants to do.
Yeah. Any thought potentially about both? I know it's rare and I know it's hard, but I don't know. Maybe he's the rare bird that could do it, right?
Yeah, and that's a conversation that I think college coaches would have to have with them. If that's something, I don't know. I'm not going to put words in anybody's mouth. I mean, right. I'm sure some wrestling coaches, some football coaches would say, yeah, we'll work with you. And then there's some that say, absolutely not, we won't work with you. Yeah. You got to choose. So I would say that it's, I know some people that have called him and recruited him have said, hey, we want you to play both. And that's why you want to come here. So they've taken that route with, hopefully he wants to do both. Where some say, no, you kind of got to choose. And I think that once again, he's got to decide with what he wants to do and how he wants to go about it. And, like I said, once again, options are good.
Yeah, no, he seems like, just you talking about how much he loves the process. Him not having really thought that far down the line, at least. Kind of speaks to, hey, we're focused on Jefferson, or my next wrestling event, Super 32, or we got practice coming up. Really kind of speaks to where his focus is at, which is kind of what's opened up all these opportunities, right?
Well, yeah, and I remember one person, right as soon as signing day, or, it's colleges to start talking with him. It was a couple months later, so who are you going to choose? And he's like, I don't know, and he's like, no, you need to start, thinking about who you're going to commit to. And he came up to me. He's like, do I need to start thinking about who? I'm like, no. I was like, you have time. I was like, just go on your visits, talk to the coaches, weigh your options, see what your options are, and then figure it out. You don't have to decide tomorrow. Yeah. You don't, it's just figure it out. Figure out what you got. This is a big decision, and you don't need to make it right now for the next 5 years or whatever. So.
Yeah, 100%. I think my last question for you, Coach, is I know this is a question that the answer could change over the next week, over the next month, over the next year. What's your favorite memory of Ben? When you think of Ben Peter, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
There are so many.
You've probably known him since he was that big.
Yes. God, so many are coming to my head. I would say one of my favorite memories is just even this last year at the district tournament when I felt like he was more wrapped up in how everybody else is doing than himself. Okay. One of his teammates in the semifinals, the districts, it was a big match, and that guy threw the kid to his back and pinned him. And I was watching the replay. I didn't see this live, but I was watching the replay of it on camera, and you could see him in the background. He's jumping up and down. He sprinted to the end of the gym. He sprinted back. He's jumping up and down. He's the type of person that he's a great person. He's a great leader. He's not a me person. He is there. Last year he was taking some of our freshmen, to extra workouts. They need an extra workout, so he took them to an extra workout, to help them out. And so he's a total package. Even I remember last year one night, I was just I'm always working late, and he kind of knows that I'm sitting at home, and it's 10:30 at night, and said, hey, Coach, I just turned in my paper for this. Can you grade it? So I graded it, put it in, and boom, it was done. I was just he's worried about school just as much as he does everything else. And just that he's so conscious of everything that he does. I love that about him.
Ben, obviously, really special Friday night. You know how special the talent he is.
Yeah.
What were you, when you first met him after you first got the job, what were your expectations for him this season?
Well, I just meeting him and understanding who he was as a person, his work ethic and his drive. And I thought from day one, his humbleness impressed me. And I always think you're not ever going to be a great player if you don't have some humbleness to you, because you know there's things that you can get better at. And so meeting Ben right away, I knew that he was a humble, eager, driven person, student athlete, not just a great wrestler. He was driven in everything he did, you know, and it was important. You know, words of affirmation are important for him. He likes to get critiqued. He likes to, you know, be told you're doing this good or you're doing this bad. And so I think just from the get-go, he was just such a student of everything he's doing. Like, God, you put that along with his athletic ability, and you're like, this guy can do special. Yeah. And he's starting to do that, you know, day in and day out. And then his process is so good, right? His Tuesdays are as good as anybody, right? And so that's what makes his Fridays as good as anybody's.
Absolutely. He touched the ball 3 times, scored twice. How many separate tackles for loss, had a sack. Like, he was just flying all over the field last Friday.
All over the field, yep.
What was it about his performance, or what maybe stuck out most about his performance last Friday?
I think just his ability to keep making plays, even though not every play was perfect in the game for him. Like, his ability to just, you know, really play one play at a time. And that's, you know, he can edit football plays in a game as good as anybody, right? Because he goes, hey, this was a great play. That doesn't matter. This next play needs to be great. Or the other way around. This wasn't a very good play. I missed that thing. I got to come back now and I got to make a play. And he just has the ability to stay so even keel, level-headed, and I think that thing it's so neat when you watch him in a game. Like right before he has one of a big play, he might have missed something, but it doesn't affect him.
Yeah.
You know? So that's something that I certainly can see that's unique about him than other players. You know.
Yeah. Your style of defense, some variation of blitz on every single play. Your style of offense, getting the ball into not just one playmaker's hands, but multiple playmakers' hands. Yep. How much is really that going to help him, you know, showcase everything that he can do on the football field specifically?
Well, and we're always, I think the misconception is, you know, with me and Coach McGackie and Coach McKim and I, that we have this like offense or defense. But I think what we do really good is we build our offenses and defenses around our personnel. And so we look at a guy like Ben Keeter and John Klosterman and Ronnie Major and some of the guys we got at receiver, and we say, we got to build our stuff around our personnel. Let's put him in great positions every play instead of just saying, hey, he's our Mike linebacker and this is where this guy stands. During, you know, we don't do that. So we build in blitzes for Ben. We build in blitzes for other guys, and I think we're really calculating and putting our best guys in the best positions.
Yeah, you know, whether it was at Iowa State or previous college stops or Greene County, Roosevelt, you've been around really, really good, talented athletes.
Yep.
How good can Ben be? I know he just picked up an offer. I know he's telling me about, you know, going on Iowa and Iowa State visits.
Missouri just called. He didn't even know Missouri was on the phone right before we got out to practice. So he's about to get an SEC offer, I think.
Well, and I'm sure that, you know, I've heard Alabama sniffing around a little bit just because of what he's been able to do during the off season. Like, this type of talent on the football field, like I feel like this is going to be the first season we're really going to get to see how good he can be on the football field.
Yeah, and I think that's the part that's so fun for us is he's an elite football player. And I think his upside is so big in football because there's a potential to keep growing, right? Yeah. You know, and then sometimes wrestling, you want him to be a 195 or a 220 or whatever. Football, heck, you just let him grow and we'll find a space for him because he's so athletic, right? He's got great ball skills. He can run. You know, he's got good power. He's got good flexibility. He doesn't have a lot of deficiencies in his from an athlete. Yeah. And then you add that mental part of him that is so elite compared to his peers. You know, his ability to just stay focused, his ability to, you know, always, sports are always in the front of his mind, like, you know, 7 days a week, trying to get better at it. And I think not everybody does it. Not everybody has the ability to do that at high school level, right? You don't have the capacity to have a vision to know that, man, if I do this for the next 3 years or 2 years in elite level, I can continue to get as good as I can be, you know? I mean, so he's just so fun to be around, Cody. He makes us better as coaches because you come out here, you know Ben's going to have his best day. We got to have ours. So,
100%.
Yeah, it makes it fun.
When you're talking to these college coaches, these college football coaches specifically, what is it about his game, or what is it about his potential, his future prospects? What sticks out the most as you're talking to these coaches about him?
You know, I think just the way he plays with such physicality on every play, the way he can play with he's got such strong hands. And then I think his versatility, right? He can play linebacker, he can play tight end, probably be the best tackle on our team. You know, he can certainly play receiver, right? he ran the ball at a young age. He was the best running back in his class at a young age. So he's so versatile, you can put him everywhere. Play every special teams, every position. So that's what makes him so unique. And then just his ability, you can see a really good football player, and if he doesn't put his face on people and doesn't like contact, he's got a ceiling. Ben loves contact. Ben loves physicality. So, and then, I hope people continue to hear this, but football coaches in college love wrestlers. I mean, why wouldn't you? They tackle for a living.
Yeah.
It just makes sense. It goes hand in hand. And so Ben hits about every mark. So.
Absolutely. The other thing, and I talked to Coach Connell about this, I talked to Ben about this, he's not just hearing from college football coaches. He's obviously hearing from wrestling coaches as well, just with what he was able to do this summer, what he's done the first 2 years at City.
Yeah.
How do you, when you have an athlete like that who has all these options, I know he's a standout baseball player, he said he didn't want to play baseball at the next level, but wrestling and football are probably the two at the forefront here.
Right.
How do you advise an athlete like that when it comes to, and I know he's still a junior, but how do you advise an athlete like that?
For me, I think this is probably where I can really help those guys is I've been right in the mix of that and seen what it's like from that side, from the other side of recruiting. And I advise him just to really get to know and understand the people that are recruiting him, not so much the product, the people. What kind of people are they sending to talk to you, and how is your conversations going? And when you get on campus around other people, how are those coaches interacting with their players? And just, don't look at the product, don't look at, maybe even the past or what could be, just look at what type of people are there. And I think that's the biggest thing is how are you connecting with those guys? What are they, do you feel genuine? Do you feel, I think it's, human nature. You either feel a connection or you don't. And that's my big thing to Ben is the people have to be the connectors. Don't let it be the facilities, and don't let it be the selling point of anything other than we're going to help you become a better person, and ultimately you'll be a better player. So I think that's my biggest thing to him is how are you connecting with those guys? How are they treating you? What kind of questions are they asking you? Are they asking you about your family? Are they asking about things other than just football or wrestling? And so I think that's probably my biggest advice to them, because I don't want to pick a side for him. He needs to pick a side.
Yeah.
But I think that's when he gets done recruiting calls and we talk and just, what kind of person was he? What kind of questions did he ask you? And then that's been pretty good for us to just communicate. So it's been fun.
Have you kind of thought about, when you see him, there's potential maybe there for an NFL tight end, but also, a world-class, Olympic-class type of wrestler.
Yeah.
What do you think is ultimately going to go into a decision like that for him? That seems like that's the question for him.
I probably think just, there's going to be some quality of life after college that he's got to probably look into and say, what do I want to, can the next 4 years provide me what the next 40 years of my life, or the next 4 years going to be the pinnacle? And I think, he could, like you said, he could probably be an Olympic wrestler, and he can maybe be an NFL tight end. So I think he could see a vision after college. But, for him on the decision, I think it's going to be what can make him the best version of him for the next 4 years. And I think ultimately, can his family be around? Can he have a support system around him? Because, Ben's a community guy. I mean, he loves this community. He loves his friends. He loves the people around here. And so wherever he goes, the community, his support system, that's a big deal. And so I think that will be a driving decision is what kind of support system are they going to put around him? Is he going to be able to keep around him?
Yeah, 100%. I think one of the last questions I had for you was, I know that talking with Connell, talking with you, it seemed like you guys plus the baseball coach, plus the track coach, all on the same page as he was kind of doing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
How nice was it to, one, coordinate with coaches like that as he went through his busy season, but also now as the football coach in the fall, you get your hands on him every day now. That's got to be really exciting.
It's the best, and you're right. You hit it on the head. Between Coach Connell, Coach Mitchell, myself, Coach Moore, the track coach, who's also on our football staff, we've just done such a good job. And Ben's such a great communicator. So it's really easy to say, hey, 3 months in advance, his mom will call us and say, hey, Ben's got this tournament. Is that okay? Absolutely. And let's plan for it. But being around him every day, I think that's the part that it's been so fun for us as a football staff, is because when he's doing football every day, whatever he's doing every day, he's going to get better.
Yeah.
And for him to be straight football for the last 5 weeks, we have seen him on a weekly basis grow at an unbelievable rate. That's the part that when college is called, that's probably the biggest thing I tell him is the exponential growth we've seen in 5 weeks is unbelievable. What's it going to be by the end of this season? What's it going to be when we get a whole off season with him? And so the kid's still growing.
Yeah. Big thanks to Ben, Coach Connell, and Coach Moore for taking the time to chat with me earlier this week. As you guys heard from the interviews, very interesting story, very interesting situation, one that could go a million different directions. But like Coach Connell said, man, good options are good, and Ben has tons of options. I had one final thought before I let you guys go today. I tend to agree with Coach Connell that yes, I think Ben is a better wrestler than any of the other sports he plays, and I am quietly rooting for him to wrestle forever because he's the kind of guy that can win NCAA titles, contend for world and Olympic medals if he continues to commit himself full-time to wrestling. Also, let's face it, not even going to try and hide my bias. As much as I love watching the game of football and learning more about the game of football, I just kind of hope that he chooses to wrestle, right? That's where I enjoy seeing him compete the most, even though I kind of marveled at some of his film. More on that in just a second. Tremendous football player, tremendous baseball player, absolute just marvel of an overall talent. But yeah, I am quietly hoping that he chooses wrestling. There's the words. Words are hard. But at the same time, if a run at the NFL is seriously on the table, then maybe that's the route Ben should pursue. He's wildly talented, guys. Great hands, great speed, the ability to block and finish, and he plays with a physicality that already puts him so far ahead of the curve when compared to his peers, right? The NFL can also create life-changing opportunities. Heck, now with NIL, college football can create life-changing opportunities, right? Just with the opportunity to build your brand and to, capitalize off of big moments and your name and likeness. And he could become a star, especially if, if he stays in town and he goes to the University of Iowa, right? And that kind of leads me to believe, if we're going to hang on to that hypothetical here real quick, I know Iowa State does a great job at developing tight ends. Other schools do a phenomenal job at developing linebackers and tight ends. That's kind of where he projects. So let's hang on to this hypothetical real quick. Let's say he does go to the University of Iowa and he plays tight end, or he goes to, Mizzou or Iowa State or wherever the case may be, or Minnesota, and he decides to be tight end, and he ultimately becomes this talent that becomes draft eligible, right? And the NFL is kind of poking around, and coaches are curious, and GMs are curious. The NFL can create life-changing opportunities, right? You clear the pension after 3 years, which is huge. And generally speaking, if you're a tight end or a linebacker that signs a second contract in the NFL, that's generational changing money. And honestly, just like Connell said, that'd be really, really hard to pass up and turn down and not at least pursue it if you think you can do it, right? As I was writing this story, I was watching Ben's film from last season and from week 1. And honestly, I couldn't help but notice his sack from last week against Iowa City Liberty. I think if he decides to pursue the football thing, he's got a future at either tight end or linebacker. He's that good, guys. If you haven't watched his film, go check it out. Go find him on Huddle or if you're in the Iowa City area, go catch a game, man. It's a lot of fun to watch. Mitchell Moore, his teams play a fun brand of football. Before he went to Iowa City, he coached at Des Moines Roosevelt here, and then also at Greene County. It's a really fun brand of football. I think you guys will enjoy it. But back to Ben. Watching his film from last season, from week 1, and I couldn't help but notice his sack from last week against Iowa City Liberty. It was a simple play, really. I mean, Ben just kind of rushed on a delay blitz through the line, and he kind of met the quarterback at a collapsed pocket, wrapped him up. But then as the quarterback tried to wiggle free, Ben wrapped his arms around his waist, cinched up a lock, stepped in, and launched the poor kid to his back. Put another way, it looked like something Ben would normally do on a wrestling mat. I couldn't help but laugh. I think you guys might enjoy it too if you go find it. Anyways, that's all I've got today, you guys. Thanks a bunch for listening. Be sure to rate and review the show on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcast. Follow me on Twitter at Cody Goodwin, Instagram, Cody J. Goodwin. Be sure to also subscribe to the Des Moines Register to catch all my stories, mailbags, analysis, and videos. Wrestling's coming back up here soon, guys. We're into September now. The World Team Trials are coming up. Next thing you know, who's number 1 is going to have a pretty strong Iowa presence. Super 32, like I mentioned, coming in October. By the time we get to October, media days and the college season are going to be rolling right back around. I don't want you guys to miss a thing, so be sure to subscribe. It's going to be another fun year when it comes to Iowa wrestling, high school level, college level, even the international level with a world championship event coming up. And we still have the U23s coming up too, and there's a couple of Hawkeyes that are going to be heading overseas as well. So going to be a lot of fun. I don't want you guys to miss a thing. You can find links to subscribe, stories from this past week, all of that good stuff in the show notes. Thanks again for listening, you guys. We will talk again soon.